world woke up today to a reality that many feared, but few truly prepared for, as the long simmering tensions in the Middle East have finally boiled over into a direct, kinetic, and unrestricted confrontation between the United States, Israel, and the Islamic Republic of Iran. We are coming to you live with a special report because the fundamental pillars of the global energy market have not just been shaken, they have been dismantled in a matter of hours. This is no longer a shadow war of proxies and cyber attacks. This is a full-scale regional conflagration that has immediately paralyzed the world's most vital maritime artery. Reports are flooding in of sustained missile exchanges and drone swarms targeting critical infrastructure. And as the smoke rises over the Persian Gulf, the price of crude oil is reacting with a violence we have not seen in the modern era. The volatility is so extreme that trading halts are being triggered across international exchanges as the specter of a total energy embargo looms over the horizon. Every projection made by analysts only yesterday is now obsolete. We are witnessing the collapse of the post-Cold War energy security paradigm in real time. The geographic center of the world's oil production has become a kill zone, and the implications for every household, every business, and every government on this planet are staggering. This is the moment where the theoretical risks of geopolitical instability become the daily reality of economic survival. We are tracking reports of multiple tankers being diverted or disabled, and the insurance markets for maritime shipping have effectively closed their doors to any vessel entering the Gulf of Oman. This is the beginning of a global shockwave that will be felt from the boardrooms of Wall Street to the gas stations of rural America. The sequence of events that brought us to this precipice began in the early hours of the morning with a coordinated series of strikes that have redefined the scope of modern warfare. According to high-level defense officials and corroborated by satellite imagery, the expansion of the conflict began when Israeli long-range assets targeted what were described as hardened command centers and enrichment facilities deep within Iranian territory. This was not a limited strike, it was a decapitation attempt on the logistical backbone of the Iranian military apparatus. In immediate retaliation, Tehran launched a saturation attack involving hundreds of ballistic missiles and suicide drones, not only targeting Israeli population centers, but specifically aiming for the U.S. naval presence in the region and the massive oil processing facilities in the eastern province of Saudi Arabia. The scale of the bombardment has overwhelmed existing air defense umbrellas in several sectors, leading to significant kinetic events at the Abqaiq processing plant and the Ras Tanura terminal. The fireballs from these strikes were visible from space, marking a direct hit on the heart of the world's spare oil capacity. As the U.S. Fifth Fleet scrambled to intercept incoming threats, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps officially declared the Strait of Hormuz a closed military zone, effectively putting a metaphorical noose around the neck of the global economy. 1/5 of the world's daily oil consumption passes through this narrow waterway, and with the announcement of naval mines being deployed and anti-ship cruise missile batteries being activated along the coast, the passage is now functionally impassable for commercial traffic. This is a total systemic failure of the regional security architecture. We are seeing reports of U.S. carrier strike groups moving into strike positions, while Iranian fast attack craft harass remaining merchant vessels. The chaos is absolute, and the diplomatic channels that once served as backstops for de-escalation have been completely severed. The danger of this moment cannot be overstated because we have transitioned from a controlled escalation to a feedback loop of destruction. The primary reason this is extremely dangerous is the zero-sum nature of the current military objectives. Unlike previous skirmishes in the Gulf, there is no clear off-ramp for any of the participants. The U.S. administration has signaled that it will not tolerate a blockade of the strait, while Tehran has made it clear that if they cannot export their oil due to sanctions and strikes, then no one in the region will export oil. This is the suicide option of geopolitics. By targeting the energy infrastructure of neighboring states, Iran is effectively attempting to drag the entire global economy down with it. We are looking at the potential for a long-term disruption that could last months, not days. If the processing facilities at Abqaiq are severely damaged, that oil does not come back online with the flip of a switch. It takes specialized parts, international engineering teams, and a level of security that currently does not exist. Furthermore, the risk of miscalculation is at an all-time high. With electronic warfare units jamming GPS and communication arrays across the Gulf, the chance of a mistaken strike on a neutral vessel or a third-party country's assets is nearly a certainty. This creates a terrifying potential for the conflict to widen even further, drawing in global powers like China, which remains heavily dependent on the very oil that is now trapped behind a wall of fire. The geopolitical tripwires are being snapped one by one, and we are entering a phase of total unpredictability, where the only certainty is further escalation. The reaction in the global financial markets has been nothing short of cataclysmic. As news of the blockade and the strikes reached the trading floors, oil prices experienced a vertical ascent that has shattered all historical records for a single-day move. Brent crude and West Texas Intermediate have jolted upward by over 15% in hours, with some analysts predicting a move toward $200 a barrel if the strait remains closed for more than 48 hours. This is a massive, systemic jolting of the global supply chain. The fear premium that usually adds a few dollars to the price of a barrel has been replaced by a scarcity panic. Traders are not just speculating on price, they are scrambling to secure physical delivery of whatever non-Middle Eastern crude is available. This has triggered a domino effect across all asset classes. The stock markets are in a free fall, with airlines, shipping, and manufacturing stocks being decimated as investors realize that the cost of doing business has just skyrocketed. Conversely, defense contractors and alternative energy firms are seeing massive, chaotic spikes. The bond market is signaling a deep, prolonged recession, as the inflationary pressure of these energy prices will force central banks into an impossible corner. They must choose between fighting the inflation caused by $150 oil or trying to save a collapsing economy. This is the definition of a black swan event, a high-impact, unpredictable occurrence that renders all previous models useless. The liquidity in the oil markets is drying up because no one wants to be on the wrong side of a gap up at the next market open. We are seeing a fundamental repricing of risk across the entire world, and the destabilized nature of the current energy flow means that every industry that relies on transport, plastics, or power is now at risk of insolvency. As we look at the potential escalation scenarios, the outlook remains bleak and increasingly militarized. The most immediate concern is a full-scale amphibious or aerial campaign to clear the Strait of Hormuz. Military analysts suggest that such an operation would require a massive commitment of U.S. and allied air power to suppress Iranian coastal batteries and mine-laying capabilities. However, such an action would almost certainly trigger a wider Iranian response, possibly involving the activation of sleeper cells or proxy forces across the Levant and the Arabian Peninsula. We could see a war of the cities scenario where ballistic missiles are traded between major capitals, leading to a humanitarian crisis of unprecedented proportions. Another escalation path involves the targeting of global undersea internet cables that run through the region. If the physical flow of oil is stopped, the digital flow of information could be next, leading to a total collapse of global financial clearing systems. There is also the nuclear wildcard. While there is no evidence of nuclear deployment, the strikes on enrichment facilities bring the shadow of a nuclear-armed Iran closer to the forefront of the conversation. If Tehran feels its existence is threatened, the doctrine of strategic ambiguity may disappear in favor of strategic desperation. We are also watching the borders of Lebanon and Syria, where Hezbollah is reportedly in a state of full mobilization, ready to open a second front that would stretch Israeli defenses to the breaking point. Every move is being met with a counter-move of higher intensity, creating a ladder of escalation that seems to have no top rung. For the average viewer, the impact of this crisis will be felt almost instantly at the kitchen table. This isn't just a story about foreign wars and distant oil fields. This is about the price of the bread in your pantry and the cost of your commute. As oil prices surge, the cost of diesel, the fuel that powers the world's trucking fleets, will soar, leading to immediate price hikes for all consumer goods. We are looking at a stagflationary nightmare where your paycheck buys less while the economy around you slows down. In some regions, we may see the return of fuel rationing or odd-even gas station lines not seen since the 1970s. The psychological impact of seeing out-of-gas signs will likely trigger a wave of panic buying, further straining an already broken system. Your heating bills, your electricity rates, and the cost of travel are all tied to the volatile numbers flashing on the screen behind me. Beyond the finances, there is the undeniable anxiety of a world at war. The stability we have taken for granted for decades, the idea that the global just-in-time supply chain would always provide, has been proven to be a fragile illusion. This is a moment of profound personal and national vulnerability. The security of your retirement accounts, the viability of your small business, and the safety of the international order are all being tested simultaneously. This is the great reset that no one wanted, forced upon us by the hard realities of geography and the ancient animosities of the Middle East. This crisis also represents a strategic global power shift that will echo for generations. We are witnessing the end of the era where the United States could unilaterally guarantee the security of the global commons. The fact that a regional power like Iran can effectively hold the world economy hostage, despite the presence of a superpower's naval might, suggests a multipolar world has arrived with a vengeance. China, as the largest importer of Gulf oil, is now forced into a position where it must either intervene or see its own Chinese dream of economic growth go up in smoke. This could lead to a permanent Chinese naval presence in the Indian Ocean, fundamentally challenging the balance of power. Meanwhile, Russia stands to gain immensely from the skyrocketing prices of its own energy exports, potentially using the windfall to further its own territorial ambitions elsewhere. The energy map of the world is being redrawn in blood. Countries that were once allies are now competing for the few remaining trickles of oil that aren't trapped in the Gulf. The geopolitical glue that held the international community together is melting under the heat of this conflict. We are moving toward a world of energy nationalism, where every country looks out for itself, hoarding resources and forming exclusive blocs. This shift will likely lead to a permanent increase in the cost of energy, as the security premium becomes a permanent feature of the market. The era of cheap, globalized energy is over, and in its place is a fragmented, dangerous, and expensive landscape of competing interests. The gravity of this hour cannot be minimized. As we continue to monitor the feeds from the Persian Gulf, the images of burning tankers and the sounds of air siren warnings in major cities serve as a grim reminder of how quickly the world can change. We have spent decades debating energy independence and the transition to new fuels, but today, the old world of petroleum has reminded us that it still holds the power to bring modern civilization to a standstill. The coming days will be some of the most consequential in modern history. We will see if diplomacy can be resurrected from the ashes, or if the momentum of war is now unstoppable. The decisions made in Washington, Tehran, and Jerusalem tonight will determine the economic and physical safety of billions of people. We are facing a test of resilience, a test of leadership, and a test of the very systems we rely on to keep the peace. The markets will remain volatile, the rhetoric will remain heated, and the danger will remain acute. We will be here, tracking every missile launch, every market tick, and every diplomatic maneuver as this global crisis special report continues. The world is watching, the stakes are everything, and the margin for error has vanished. We will continue to bring you updates as they break, providing the clarity you need in an increasingly clouded and chaotic world. The situation remains fluid, and the escalation appears to be far from its peak. This is the new reality of the 2026 global landscape, a world defined by the friction of falling empires and rising tensions. Stay tuned for further developments as we receive them. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to our channel for continuous live updates and in-depth analysis of this unfolding global crisis.